afternoon, everyone. This is Annette Manius with Oasis Solutions Group, and we appreciate you coming today to our Sage Intacct versus Sage 100, a side-by-side comparison of key differences. So we appreciate you guys joining us today. Our presenters today are myself, Annette Manius, President of Oasis Solutions, and then Jeff Stout, who is our Sage 100 Practice Manager.
Hello.
Thanks, Jeff. So what we have in store for you guys today is we're going to talk about some key differences between the two products, Sage Intacct functional advantages, reasons for migrating. Jeff is going to do a great demo for us. We're going to look at some key takeaways, and then we'll have questions and answers. So your phones are muted, and but if you have questions, there is a chat at the bottom. I'm sure we've all done Zoom a zillion times now, so you can use the chat at the bottom, and that's being monitored. And at the end, when we do Q&A, we'll have more chat there as well. So I'm going to start off with a few key differences between the two products. So Sage 100 is an on-premise solution. So that means it's on your server or it's hosted. We have a lot of customers now who are going to hosted versus Sage Intacct is a true cloud solution. So it's on the cloud, it's not on your server. And we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit again too. Sage Intacct is a very industry focused, it's broad, but they try to do a little bit more of an industry focus, whereas Sage 100 is very broad, which has been very good for us because we have a lot of customers in different segments, service, distribution, that type of thing. So there's a little bit of a difference there. If you have multiple companies and you had to do eliminations between the two companies or multiple companies, you can do that in Sage 100, but it's done through reporting, whereas in Sage Intacct, it's done through the general ledger. So it's not just a reporting functionality. Again, it works both ways. It just depends on how you want to do it. One of the differences that Jeff's going to show you today is Sage chart of accounts is segmented. So you have your account number, let's say office supplies, your division, and your location possibly. So you have those segments. Whereas Sage Intacct is more dimensional accounting. So the first time I heard this word years ago, I thought, what in the world? And because I'm so used to the segmented charts, so it's a very nice concept. It cuts down that volume of account numbers on your chart of accounts. And Jeff's going to go through that again during the demo too, so you can see what that really looks like. A couple of the things too that are in both products, I'm going to say are in both products, more inherent, ingrained in Sage Intacct than in Sage 100 are dashboards, workflows. With Sage 100, those things are there, but they are typically third-party items, which is fine. They've worked great. We have customers that use them like crazy, so it's really good. In Sage Intacct, they're built into the system. So again, both of them have very similar things. They just go about it differently. So, and then you'll see the difference in how it looks when Jeff does the demo. Again, so this is feature comparison, some side by side. I'm not going to go through each one of these. You guys can read them. But a couple of things that I wanted to point out is that, of course, we talked about Sage 100 being on-premise or hosted and Intacct as cloud. The user licenses, we get this question, not a lot, but we do get it. What does concurrent mean? With Sage 100, if I buy 5 licenses, I can have 10, 15, 20 people in security there, but only 5 at a time. Whereas Sage Intacct, if I buy 5, it's named, it's 5. So you can't go beyond that 5. So that's a little bit of a difference. I'm not saying bad, good or bad. Just, you know, that's a little bit of a difference. On the update frequency on Sage 100, it's biannually, whereas Sage Intacct, it's every quarter. And the upgrade with Sage Intacct is automatically applied to your system, whereas Sage 100 is a parallel. So we take you from this version to this version. So it's what we call a parallel, whereas Sage Intacct, they'll say, you know, on October 1st, we're going to push out these new features, you know, they give you a list, and then you come in October 1st and it's there. So, of course, there's, you know, always some caveats with that too. Depends on what kinds of things, other things you've got going on there too. But again, you know, Oasis is there to help you through that whole transition as well. Some other things that are feature comparisons. We have, I would say in the past couple of years, had more questions about multi-currency with Sage 100 as people do business outside of the country, and then intercompany because they have multiple companies within their system. So you can do those things with Sage 100, but as you can see on the right hand side, they're more inherent and native in Sage Intacct. So it can be done, it's just a little bit of a different way. The nice thing too, if you're using Avalara for sales tax, it works with both products. So there's no changing. There's just a connection that's between the two for Avalara, and we help you reestablish that connection with a new database. And then you'll see down at the very bottom, AICPA endorsed. Sage Intacct, before Sage purchased Intacct, it was always endorsed by the Association of CPAs, and always been that good solid GL product. And then Sage, of course, has purchased it several years ago and really made some enhancements to it. So so they've been moving along with that product. And then also here's some things that are, again, a comparison. So if you did project accounting, distribution, those are just a couple things. The distribution, there's a lot more for anybody who's on here that's distribution oriented and in manufacturing. So it really, Sage Intacct has always been geared towards services, very heavy on general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, as you can see here, revenue recognitions and things like that. And they're really putting a push on the distribution and the manufacturing. So they've actually taken some of the things, the features and things from Sage 100, that the way that it does it, and they're putting it into Sage Intacct. You know, Sage 100 is a solid product. It's a great product. So again, I'm not going to read this, but you know, here's some of the different things. It's a different interface that you'll see when Jeff does the demo. Again, it's designed for CFO and finance teams. It has some social collaboration tools there. I don't know that Jeff's going to show you all that today, but that's a pretty cool thing. But then workflows, dashboards, things like that are inherent in the system. So there's lots of reasons for migrating. There's lots of reasons that we see that people want to migrate. One of them is, you know, my server is getting old, it's going to die. What am I going to do? Am I going to buy a new server? Am I going to host? Am I going to do a true cloud solution? So the reason that Oasis decided to start implementing Sage Intacct is because we wanted a path for you all. You know, that's really was our goal for this, is so that if you said, you know, my server is going to die, thinking I might need to do something else, what should I do? We're there and we've got a solution for you. So that's, and we'll help you through that. You know, we'll help you make the decision. We can help you do the implementation. So there's a lot of staying with Sage, staying with Oasis. It's good for everybody. So Sage Intacct, this is one of the things that I wanted to point out to you all, is that years ago, people said, oh, I'm not going to do the cloud. It's not secure. I don't have control over my security. But I'll tell you, and you all have probably seen it. Hopefully you've not experienced it, but we've seen more people get ransomware and hacked in the past, 4 years, let's say. And it's because most of the time it's because the security on their own server is not very good. Either an in-house person, missed a step, or they're outside something. Whereas a product like Sage Intacct, they got to have it. They've got to have it right. It's going to be right. You just don't hear about people getting hacked in that scenario with these types of financial products. So I really feel very good about the uptime and the security of that. So just one last thing before I'm going to turn over to Jeff. And this is an example of a customer that they're a distribution company, and they went to Sage Intacct. So the issues, here are the issues. They were having trouble with their monthly invoicing, manual reporting, disconnected finance and operations, just really some struggles. Their customers are Walmart and Target, so they have to get it right. So here's the solution, or the results after switching to Sage Intacct. So they streamlined everything. Reporting is much easier and better visibility internally and with their customers. So it really made a difference in their business and the way that it functions. So we have lots of examples of these, but this is just one that we pulled out for this demonstration. So I am going to turn it over to Jeff. And Jeff?
Yep. Thanks. I'll grab that screen share here.
Gotcha. And I'll be back.
Okay, before I get started, thanks Annette, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to be providing just a short little demo of Intacct for us today, so that we can kind of get a little familiar with the interface, and also maybe some of the key functions and features of Intacct. And so one of the things that we hear a lot when we're talking to our customers, a lot of the Sage customers, we hear some of the same things. And some of those things that we hear are things like, hey, I want to be able to get a quick snapshot of my business. I want to be able to see that maybe without running lots of reports and maybe cobbling data together, or maybe going out there and exporting data out of the system and then pushing something into Excel. And then maybe by the time I get the information that I need, maybe it's out of date already. So a way to get quick snapshots of the business. We also hear things like, I'd really like to be able to drill down from summary type information into transaction detail, right? So that I can figure out, like, if that summary number doesn't look right, how can I quickly drill down and be able to grab that information from a transaction level and make decisions on it? And we also hear a lot about, we like to implement workflows. We like to implement things like approval processes natively in the application rather than having to do something external. So what I'm going to spend time on today is showing those three things and how in Intacct those are accomplished. There's a lot more detail that we could go into on Intacct. There's a lot of different things to show. That's what we're going to kind of concentrate on a little bit today. Okay, so I'm on connected here. I'm going to go ahead and log in to Intacct here, and I'm logging in through, as Annette said, this is a true cloud product. I'm logging in through Google Chrome browser, any modern browser that you have right now with the Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari. You can connect from your cell phone. We'll get you into Intacct. I'm in a demo company, GBD Incorporated. It is a distribution company, and I'm logged in as Jeff, the controller. Okay, is who I'm acting as today, and I do have full access, full admin rights into the application. When I log into Intacct, here's I go right into a dashboard. All right, and this is based on setup. It's a preference that I have to say, hey, when I log in, take me right into this dashboard. And the dashboards that you set up in Intacct are role-based. So you'll see here that I'm set up as in the controller dashboard, but we do have different dashboards out there. And we'll switch between a couple as we go through this demonstration today. A lot of times we get asked questions, why would we want to use a dashboard, or why do we need to use a dashboard? And just to kind of reiterate what I said earlier, I mean, what it really does, it puts all of our information right here in one place, all of our financial information, snapshot of our business right here in one location for us, okay? And it's right here in front of me, and this is information that fits the role that I have in the company. So the things that I want to see in the organization are presented to me on this dashboard. So there's some different components of the dashboard that I kind of want to highlight here. This upper section, these are called performance cards. And the performance cards are really just an accumulation of general ledger data or account data from accounts behind it. So if I come over here, let's take a look at cash on hand. If I hover over that, I can click on cash on hand, and that's going to take me down to a listing of all of the cash accounts, all the different checking accounts that I have set up in the system. And as you can see, these are all hyperlinks here, so I can continue to click on those and drill down from total information to all of the transactions for the period that I'm in right here. And then I can even click down to individual transaction level details. So would that be a journal entry or a cash receipt, deposit, something like that, very quickly from the dashboard with a matter of 2 or 3, 4 clicks there, I can go from that summary information all the way down to the detail level, transaction level detail. All right. Now on these performance cards, you'll also see that I do have some conditional formatting that I can set up. And so those are shown here with these little green up arrows. You may see some red arrows depending if we're comparing to budget or maybe prior months. But this is some conditional formatting that I can put out there that will very quickly just, the eye can take a look at that and be drawn to see that green arrow and realize that, hey, that position that I'm at right there is good. Or if it's a red arrow, that's gonna let me know maybe I've got a little problem there that maybe I need to take a look at. Okay. So some of the other components that we have on our dashboard, you can see some of those here. We've got charts that can be set up on here. We also have different reports that we can look at. We have lists and checklists that we have here. So we have reports, we have bill approval lists, other checklists that we have here, and these operate the same way that I can take these hyperlinks and I can go ahead and drill into that data when I'm looking at it here, okay, and open up down to transaction level detail, very quickly as I'm scanning through the information on the dashboard. So again, whether that be scanning down to journal entries or sales invoices or vendor bills, anything like that, just within a couple clicks, I'm able to go ahead and drill down. And you'll see some of the same things with conditional formatting in these reports. So very easy for my eye to be drawn to areas that I need to take a look at by putting conditional formatting on these lists. Okay. We're going to take in a little bit. I'm going to switch roles. We'll show how to set up a couple different components on there. But before we do that, I want to talk about some other ways that we can filter this list out right here, looking at the controller role. As Annette mentioned earlier about intercompany and multi-company, Sage Intacct is a multi-entity accounting system. And so if you look up here in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that I'm listed as I'm being in the top level entity right now. If I click on that, I'll see that there's other entities associated here. I've got 100, 200, 300. Those could be separate businesses that roll up into my top level. They could be maybe different locations that I want to track financials for. But if I click on one of those, you'll see it actually opens a different browser window up here. So I can have multiple companies open at the same time, multiple entities in Intacct open at the same time and go back between the two of those. But you notice when I open that entity that the financial information updates, because it's not now for the entire company as a whole. It's not rolled up. I'm only seeing information for this one particular entity. Okay. Additionally, we talked a little bit about dimensional accounting and the dimensional accounting concepts. For you folks, it's going to be, as Annette said, you want to think of it as your segments on your account. So if you have an account number and you have different segments out there for things like location or department, we would call those in Intacct. Those would be dimensions, and we would set dimensions up for those. In Intacct, you can have it's not an unlimited, but it's virtually. I mean, for what you can do, you can have a large number of dimensions that you associate with your account. So you could have location, department, maybe project or customer or product line that you track transactions to, and then can do reporting specifically based on those dimensions. I can also use those dimensional values in my dashboard here, okay, and filter the values that I'm looking at here in my dashboard based on those dimensional values. If I take a look at my dashboard settings, and I'm going to scroll over here to the little gear icon in the upper right, click on my dashboard settings. I have a filter option here, and I'm going to scroll down to my filters, and here are the dimensions that I have set up in the demo company. I have two identified right here on the dashboard that I'm going to allow to filter on. You can set your dashboard up to be able to filter on up to 3 dimension levels. Okay, you can't go higher than 3 on your dashboard filters, but right now I'm only doing location and department. So if I want to take a look at any of these values over here and say, well, let's take a look at how my admin department is doing, maybe for location 100 here, and apply that, you'll see that these values will update, and I'll be able to see just based on the specific dimension values that I entered in. Okay. All right, I'm going to clear those out, and I'm going to walk through real quickly how that we would go in and create some new components for our dashboard. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump over to my AP Manager dashboard, and I'm going to take on the role of AP Manager now for the organization. I have the controller, the CFO of the company are asking me all the time. They're saying, "Hey, we've been having some issue with our office supplies expense. Okay, can you keep a better eye on that? Make sure that we don't go over budget in purchasing office supplies." Now, how would we have reviewed that before? We may have printed a GL, detail report or trial balance detail report for all of our office supply accounts, just to kind of see what the totals were per month. May have done account inquiries or something like that into the spend for those accounts to make sure we're within budget. But what I can do here is I can set up a nice little dashboard. I can set up a card for that and track that information. So let's go ahead and do that. I can come here and say, I hit the plus button to create a new component, dashboard component. I'm going to set up a performance card. Okay. And I'm going to call this office. I'm going to call this office supplies. And the account group that I'm going to look at is going to be my office supplies account group. So this is going to be all of the accounts that I would be posting office supply expense to. Okay. And the reporting period is going to be the current month. I'm going to choose a comparison period down here. I don't want to compare it to last month. I want to go ahead and compare it to the budget. Okay. And I'm going to say I want that arrow to be red when I exceed the budget. Okay. And then I'll just save that. And now I have a new performance card on my dashboard that shows me my office supplies expense. So when the CFO comes to me and says, hey, Jeff, AP Manager, how are we doing on office supplies? I could tell him right now, hey, we're under budget by about $2,000, right? So we're doing pretty good this month, and everything's okay. And then he may ask me, well, you know what? I saw some big bills come in from the admin group over here. How is the admin department doing, with their office supplies for the month? So I can click down here very quickly and filter on the admin dimension and apply that. And then I can take a look and see, well, look, Joker's over in admin, they spent all of the money that's going to office supplies. So even though as a company we're doing okay, their department is about $2,700 over budget. So maybe we do have an issue and need to speak with them a little bit right now. So we could very quickly add that to our dashboard. And if we watch that what's that KPI for 30, 60, 90 days, maybe a couple quarters, and we realize that it's, hey, it's back in line. We don't need to spend any more time on that. I can very simply then, after I'm done with that, I can delete that performance card off my dashboard, so I don't have to review that any longer. Okay, so it's very quick, very easy way for us to go ahead and create new components to our dashboard. Okay, and also then once we're done with that, right, we can get rid of it so that it's not cluttering up what we're looking at out there. Okay, so just to recap real quick, because I'm gonna move on real quickly to approvals, but just to recap real quick on dashboards, we took a look at you know, what I said we wanted to look at was showing how we can easily see summary type information, how we can take and then drill down into that down to transaction level detail, how we can use filters in the system, whether they're based on dimensional values or the entities, the multiple companies that we have in the system, and how we use those dimensional values to also filter down into that data. All right. So the next thing that I want to show you is going to be just a quick little overview of workflows and approvals in Sage Intacct. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to show you. I'm going to come back to my dashboard because I have my approvals set up here. But I just want to show a couple little setup options that you can do that'll kind of illustrate this a little bit. And I'm going to start out in accounts payable, and I'm going to go into the setup and configuration. And I'm going to scroll down here to my approval section, and you'll see I have a couple options here. So bill approval settings, I have that enabled. I also have email notifications enabled. So if you have email notifications, when someone submits a vendor bill, you can set up your preferences, whether or not you want to receive an email, and you can also set a dollar amount on that. So, hey, don't send me an email for small items. I'll just look at it when I'm connected to the system. Or you could say, give me an email for every approval that comes my way. And you'll see here that I am set up as an unrestricted user. So basically I am doing all the approvals on this, and I'm able to submit bills without approval, but I could set up different approval policies, and I could manage my approval process right within Sage Intacct. The approval and workflow is fully integrated right within Sage Intacct. So there's nothing external that we have to have for this. It's fully integrated within the system. So I can manage those approvals based on things like dollar amount, maybe specific vendors, something like that. And you'll also notice in AP, I have another one here. If I want to, set up approval on payments, I can do that as well. I do have that turned on. Okay. So what does it look like? Okay. What does it look like? So I'm going to go back to my dashboard here. Go back to my dashboard. And I have a component set up on my dashboard here that's got my for me to approve bills. Okay, there's a menu option to get to that, but I set it up here on my dashboard, so I can click and say search on that to show me the bills that I have out here to approve. So these are bills that have been entered in the system, okay, and then have flowed over to me to approve. So it's very simple. I could check all these and just say approve right now. But I do have the ability that I can go in and view these if I want to, and then have the option to approve or decline these. If I just click on this first one here, it's a small bill, $48.89. Looks like it's a payment to vendor American Express. It's a meal reimbursement that we have to them. I see down here what specific location and department that was for. So those are the dimensional values that this expense is going to. I also see that there's an attachment here. So I can click on that attachment, and I can make sure, since this is a meal reimbursement, that we have receipts, for these transactions. All right, so these are attachments that whoever entered this bill went ahead and attached to it, and it's carried along so that when me as the bill approver is going in, I can go in and review the information, make sure everything is there for what I need to have to be able to say, yes, this bill is okay for me to go ahead and approve. All right. And I could do that with all of these bills if I needed to. And again, I may want to view those. I may want to approve, decline some of them, but I have the ability to go in and take a look at each one of these bills to review. All right. I'm not gonna click approve on those, but that's our vendor approval process, or I'm sorry, our bill approval process that we're able to do right there. Now, one thing on workflows I want to show, and this is really just, there's a lot of time we could spend on workflows, but I want to show this to you just so that you can get an understanding of the flexibility of workflows that you can set up in Sage Intacct. So I'm going to go to purchasing, and I'm going to go to my setup and transaction definitions. Okay, and in transaction definitions, this is where as a user, you could go in and set up all of the different purchasing workflows that you may have. You may have purchasing workflows that you may have a specific one for inventory, where you have to get an inventory receiver before you actually post the vendor invoice. So you can set that workflow up. You may have another workflow that says, hey, I don't need to have an inventory receiver based on the workflow that I have. So you can define as few or as many workflows for your processes in the system that you would like. And you can then also associate different approval levels with those workflows if you would like as well. Okay, so I show this. We could spend a lot of time digging into these workflows for purchasing, but this is really more of just an example to show, hey, it's a very configurable system. Okay, so if I have different workflows for different transaction types that I have, I can set those up so that the user, when they're doing a purchase order, maybe just for a vendor expense, they don't have to go through the entire process of doing an inventory receipt or something like that. But if it's inventory, I want to make sure I walk through that process that I post the receipt before I go in and do the vendor invoice. Okay. Kind of the key takeaway from those last two pieces is on workflows and approvals is that they are fully integrated and a full part of Sage Intacct. There's nothing external that we need to do or a third-party app that we need to have for that. They're fully integrated part of the application. Okay. So what we've been able to show today, just to kind of recap, I'm going to go back to the dashboard. There were three things we started with, was to show ways to look at a quick snapshot of the business and do different transaction level details, kind of review how we can filter down on dimensional accounting values. And we've showed that through the dashboard window here. We've also shown how to create new components on our dashboard so that, if there's specific information we're looking at and how easy that is. And then also how to do how to do approvals and workflow processes in the system. And, I showed a simple one on a bill payment, but again, we could set approval levels up, on vendor bills, vendor payments, timesheets, employee expense reports, virtually any transaction system, journal entries that we would want to for those approval levels. All right, well, thank you all very much. We're gonna stop the demo now. I'm gonna kick this back over to Annette. Pick back up.
Thanks, Jeff. Great job. Hope that was really beneficial for everyone. We're gonna come back just for a minute, and I'm sorry, you all. Share my screen. Couple of key takeaways are of the whole session here is Sage Intacct has consistent high ratings for customers and analysts. So very high approval ratings. It's true cloud, best in class. It has deep vertical focus. Offers modern functionality, so you all could see the screens that Jeff had and the way the dashboards and things worked. So very nice look and feel to it, I think. And also there's an Intacct marketplace which extends the solution. So what that means is if there's anything that you need that the system doesn't have inherently, it can be added on. So that's very similar to the way Sage 100 is. So you have a marketplace just like Sage 100 does. So now we've had a couple of questions in the chat. Let me see what else we have here. How does the cost compare? So Carol, I'm guessing you're asking what's the cost of Intacct compared to Sage 100? And what we will do is get with you on an individual basis. So it just depends on, you know, how many users you have, what modules you need, that type of thing. But, you know, for us, what we did when we started looking at cloud products, we said, you know, what is the cost difference? What does that look like? And we took it out from, you know, you have Sage 100, you have a server, and so you have to put those costs, I think, into the equation as well. But we can help you with that formulation. You are welcome. Anybody else have any other questions? We will be doing follow-up. And again, if you want to see a deeper dive than what we did today, this was just to kind of get your appetite wet to maybe see more. If you're interested or just curious about it, we are more than happy to do a more deep dive for anybody that wants to. So just let us know. We'll be doing follow-up as well. So I don't see any more questions, but we really appreciate you all coming today. Thanks, Jeff, for showing us around the product. Great job. And we will talk to everyone soon.